Welcome to Steph's Foodie Finds. A little food, a little wellness. Listen in and experience a podcast where food and personal development come together. Now, here's your host, Stephanie Magsino.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on this week's episode of Steph's Foodie Finds, a little food, a little wellness. I'm really excited since we have a very special guest today who will touch upon a really important topic, nutrition and dieting. She is a certified dietitian that specializes in fat loss. She's the senior dietitian for NBS by Be Strong, Stay Fit, certified as a personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, as well as Precision Nutrition certified. Follow her on social media at Well Balanced with Brooke for all things fat loss related. And you can also follow her on Instagram as Foodie Without a Cause. Please welcome my guest today, Brooke Rosenfeld. Hey, Brooke.
Hi.
Are you hearing me loud and clear? Are we good?
Loud and clear. We're good to go.
Okay, awesome. I'm really, really glad that you could be a part of this. I'm so thankful that you said yes.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, we have a lot of topics to kind of, talk about today. And I feel like, I know you're excited because I am. It's such a hot topic all the time to talk about nutrition, dieting, what's trending, what are the fads? Are you doing it? Are you not doing it? So I really wanted your take on, weight loss and going about a weight loss journey, how to do it in a way where you can lose it quickly, or is that not really reasonable? Is it more about making long-term lifestyle changes? So if you can kind of elaborate on that, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. So we live in a time where everyone is looking for a quick fix and everything is at our fingertips. We want it now, right? So when it comes to fat loss, I think what people don't understand is that the number one thing I tell people is to have patience, because it's going to take time to essentially unlearn all these habits that you've had for your entire life that are not serving you, right? So in essence, to learn, yes, you would like to go the longer route and develop these healthier habits that, yes, it's going to take more time, but turning to things like the keto diet or Weight Watchers or and I'm not saying that there aren't people that do find success with these, and I'm not trying to knock people that are doing things like that. But what these plans do, Whole30, right? What they do is they make you follow this extremely restrictive way of eating where you're eliminating food groups, you're assigning points to things. That's not really realistic. You know what I mean? And what they will do is they may lead to weight loss, and maybe it will happen quickly. But what will happen is once you are no longer doing those plans and you start eating the foods that you've been avoiding and restricting, is you will likely regain that weight and then some.
I'm going to have to say that I'm guilty of that for sure. I fall into that habit of, oh my gosh, I gained a few pounds. Let me try to lose it real quick by falling into the trap of trying a new diet, which I feel like is also a cultural and society thing where we're all trying to look for instant gratification, even when it comes to weight, especially as we get older. It's harder to maintain certain, the certain look that we had when we were, in our teens and 20s. And now I'm in my late 30s. And I feel as though it's a lot more challenging to obviously keep up with a more active lifestyle, most of us working from home, and age, of course. Your metabolism just naturally gets slower as we get older too. So what are your thoughts about that? And, a lot of people right now are doing intermittent fasting and, like you said, keto and the Whole30. It's just, do you think it's reasonable to go on those and then try to do it, every so often? Because I feel like that's what most people do is, they go on these diets, get off of it for, a year, 2 years, and then go back on it again. Is that healthy?
Well, so this is what I say to people. I said, if you have to do something again, did it really work? Like,
Good point.
if you, right? Like, so rather than keep doing keto or paleo or Whole30, why not learn to eat in a way that will help you sustain that weight loss and not feel like you're restricted? So essentially what all of these things do, what all of these diets do is they put you into a calorie deficit, meaning that you're eating less than you're burning, right? So you're putting yourself into a calorie deficit because what these diets will do is a lot of times remove all these foods that you may be consuming. Like, for example, if you're doing keto, you're cutting out carbs, right? So if you're eliminating that whole chunk of food from your diet, you're going to be eating less calories. Therefore, you will be in a calorie deficit and you will lose weight.
Okay.
So rather than having to follow a diet that is so restrictive that makes you feel like, foods are good or bad, learning how to have that balance and moderation and knowing that, there are foods that are going to be higher in calories that may not be as high in vitamins or minerals, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. Do you know what I mean?
So you touch upon a really important notion about good versus bad foods. From my observations, and I think you're triggering something in how I'm thinking about it, we portray them, in fact, as good or bad based on how we were brought up, culture, society, TV, movies, the internet. I mean, I remember
Everywhere.
as a teen, reading magazines and saying, don't eat this, but eat this instead. And really, we end up self-sabotaging ourselves in some way by saying, okay, I'm a good person because I did not, eat the bad things. But really, you're depriving yourself in some way, right?
Absolutely. Well, and you have touched on a lot of different things in what you've said within the last few minutes. So again, food, right? Food is so much more than just food. To some people, there are people who are like, I don't care what I eat. It's fuel, blah, blah, blah. I don't understand those people because I love food and food is so it's delicious. It's tied for a lot of us. It's tied to memories. It's tied to feelings of comfort.
Yes.
A lot of our habits and how we respond to things is definitely deep rooted, goes back to, like you said, how we were brought up. I mean, for example, I have many people that I've worked with that cannot leave food on their plate because when they were younger, their parents or whoever raised them was like, you can't leave the table or have dessert until you've cleared your plate.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And also the whole cultural side of things, which I believe you had mentioned before. I mean, how many holiday gatherings are just everything is related to food, right? I mean, it's just it means so much to people and to our families, and it's tied to so many things rather than just it's not just food. It's not.
Right. There's so much more meaning to food than just the food itself. It's what it symbolizes to many cultures. In fact, I don't know any humans that can't eat or don't eat, and so food is just part of survival and a necessity. But then we have so many complicated things associated with it, obviously. And now, because we live in a time of instant gratification and getting quick results, I mean, you can apply that to every aspect of your life, especially this one where people are very critical of themselves and of each other because of, the way they look. They gained a few pounds, if they lost a few pounds. And it's such a detrimental thing emotionally and mentally. And the physical aspect of it, I think, is also just, it's like part one of it. That's phase one. That's like the outer layer. But then if you just uncover everything and go deeper, it really is about the emotional codependency and the mental anxiety we also build around food. I can tell you right now that I would be so excited to go to a Christmas or Thanksgiving family party, but looking back, I remember, the night before and the morning of the party, I would make sure I wouldn't eat because I was thinking that I was going to, really indulge myself in that meal. But now I'm thinking that's not making sense to me to do that now, because then I'm going to overindulge and probably eat more than I should have, when I could have had oatmeal in the morning and a piece of fruit like banana, and then still eaten a decent meal at the, family party. So do you think it also has to come with the education and training ourselves and kind of actually undoing first all of these bad habits?
Absolutely.
I hate to say it, I'm calling myself out right now.
No,
right?
And I mean, I think that all of us in some way have struggled with issues like that at some point, and so there's a lot that goes into this. So in terms of, I guess what you were talking about is, you were saving room, right, for like an extravagant meal that you knew was coming up. And I have people that do things like this every weekend. Like every weekend, they may not eat until the evening because they want to leave room for, their social event, etc., whatever. So by doing that, you will go into the event starving. Am I right?
And all the time. I'm starving.
Yeah. And I mean, so what you're doing is you're kind of setting yourself up to overeat because your body's like, oh my God, like feed me, please. Like I'm starving. So, and a lot of people, I know that you had touched on intermittent fasting too, not to like go back there, but I did just want to mention that, by limiting yourself to a window of time to eat, that can also have the same kind of result where, because you are being so restrictive with the time frame that you're eating in, when you do get to the time that you're eating in, you're like, you go overboard. So,
yeah.
And I will
so
say
in
too,
some way,
oh, sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. So what you're trying to tell me is in some way, it is more or less like a fad diet too, because we're restricting ourselves emotionally and mentally, not just the physical aspect, but it's also, you're right. I think I've seen a lot of people do IF and it works great, 6 months, 8 months, they lose so much weight. It's great. But then they stop doing IF and then of course the pounds come back, and that's just your normal. It's like you trying to live your normal life. Like it's hard when you are doing the dieting because you're in that mode and most people want to stay focused on it. But the moment you get off of it, it's like, well, then you don't necessarily have that control anymore.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And I mean, there are people that have lost weight with intermittent fasting, with keto, with all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, is that a way that you can see yourself living for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
It's
kind of, it kind of feels like a roller coaster of like, I love myself for a good how many months, and then I hate how I look again. I am not feeling good. And it seems like this roller coaster has been nonstop, whatever the fad is, whatever the diet trend is. Even if your results seem really awesome at the time, over a lifelong time period, if you look at your lifespan of how many times you've had to resort to dieting, it is a roller coaster. For sure.
Oh, 100%. And, with intermittent fasting, like all these other diets, so think of it this way. If you were always eating breakfast and then you cut out that whole meal, you're reducing your calories, right?
Right.
So, with that window also comes, it could lead to disordered eating because you're like, oh, I can't go out to dinner with you. It's outside of my window. Oh, I can't eat right now. I'm starving, but it's not within my window. Do you know what I mean?
So you're actually building yourself these little trauma nuances in your head because you're trying to revolve around something that isn't really like a good attainable system for long term, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you're basically enabling bad habits. It's what you're saying to me in some way.
Yeah. It essentially. And again, like there are people who really maybe enjoy that lifestyle and maybe they can see themselves eating that way forever. I personally would not recommend that.
I'm nodding my head, everyone. No, I can't. I think I would feel so emotionally deprived. Like, I tried keto for like a good 2.5 weeks. And I'm going to be honest with you. I started to crave sugar because my body's used to having, a little oatmeal in the morning or, some toast. And I tend to eat whenever I feel hungry in the morning, which is another thing that I wanted to actually touch base upon. And I should bring it up before I forget. The whole 3 meals a day, because I've been hardwired growing up, and the culture that I grew up in, being first generation here, having food on the table is a necessity, but it's also like you have to make sure you eat that because there are starving children outside of this country.
Yeah.
Okay. That whole motto. Is it something that we need to stick to, like 3 meals a day? I know that my daughter wakes up and she's not hungry until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I said, if that's when you're hungry, you can bring a snack or fruit at school. I'm sure they won't say no to that. Whereas me, I'm thirsty. I want my water. I want coffee in the morning. I want some oatmeal. That's just how I am. So, and I feel like not everybody is like that, but there are some people who believe 3 meals a day, it's got to be at least 3 meals a day, 3 square meals a day. Does that still hold true? Or did it ever? I think we have a little internet issue. I'm going to see if I can actually bring her back. Hey. Did you? I think your mic is off, so we can still continue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you good? It's totally
For some reason
fine.
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Oh, no. Do you want to try going back out and then seeing if you can come back in? I hear you.
Hold on, wait. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Are you okay? It's totally fine. Hey, that's the world of podcasting. We don't have a production team.
Gosh.
It's just Brooke, me, and our laptops. So let's just continue with what we were talking about. So 3 meals a day. Is that something we have to stick? Are you good?
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
I feel so bad.
Oh, no, don't feel bad whatsoever. Do you think it's something we have to stick to? Like, I want to say no. My gut is telling me no, but how I was raised is telling me no, we have to stick to 3 meals a day.
Yes. So for me, I feel that if you, like, let's say you had a really big breakfast, right? And you're like totally stuffed. And so you eat that breakfast at like 9, 10 o'clock. So by 12 o'clock, if you're not hungry at all because you've had a gigantic breakfast, I wouldn't say force yourself to eat lunch. I think that we really need to get back to learning how to listen to our body and like pick up on our hunger, really, hunger and fullness cues. And that is easier said than done, especially when we have been ingrained, like you said, to eat a certain way. But you do not have to force yourself to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No.
Okay.
But I will say, alternatively, I would not like seeing, and as we discussed earlier, long periods of time where we go without eating and we get to the point where we're starving, because that's a problem, which will lead to overeating. And a lot of people, will struggle with nighttime snacking. I mean, that's a problem that a lot of people face because they don't eat enough during the day.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I feel a little bit better about that. I think it also comes down to listening to your body when you're hungry. Just getting back to that notion of listening to your gut, literally. Literally.
Yeah. And again, it is easier said than done. I'm not trying to make these things sound easy. They're not. And, not to like plug coaching, but I'm going to, because there is something to be said for having someone to be accountable to.
Yes.
And to
Yes.
have someone guide you through this, because I mean, Steph, like most people have no idea what to eat, have not learned anything about nutrition. They have no idea. All they're seeing is, whatever's on TV, whatever's on magazines, whatever influencers are saying online, who have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what I mean?
you're allowed to curse here.
Thank you, because I curse a lot. So
That's good. No, it means you're passionate, and I appreciate this. I truly appreciate you coming here and giving me the lowdown, like the real deal about why people are in some way so traumatized, and have really bad relationships with food, and how they look at food, and how they use food to fuel their bodies. And even now, looking at how family and friends use diet and nutrition, everybody has their own way of looking at it, but it's also, I think, stemming from their relationship with themselves and how they take care of themselves. And I know this is getting to the core of a lot of things, but as you know, I love to talk about this emotional aspect, because it is a level of awareness that I think will educate ourselves about how we treat ourselves, our bodies. And if we started incorporating better nutritional habits on a daily basis, as opposed to subjecting ourselves and our bodies to like this drastic dieting, and just actually lived a better lifestyle over long-term goals, right? Okay. Thumbs up. Okay, good. So we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking about that, because many of us are working from home, with pandemic life now, I work from home, and it's very challenging to find actual time to get up. And I'm finding that this is a real challenge. So for those of us and, the listeners out there that are working more from home, do you have any, advice or suggestions for us, from a dietitian standpoint? What can we do?
Yes, I do. So the most basic thing that I think that we could do is move our bodies more. Mm-hmm. And I think that could include setting timers on your phone to make sure you're standing up and moving around, even if it's for 5 minutes, taking calls on the phone, however you can increase your physical activity every day, that's going to be huge.
Okay.
And I am a big advocate for walking. I walk every single day. It is my favorite exercise to do, believe it or not. And it's, it's easy. You don't need a gym. You just need your sneakers, and you can go right outside and walk. And there's a humongous benefit to that. Because, going back to what you were saying earlier, we were talking about convenience and everything. So with the world that we live in now, we essentially could sit right here and we don't have to move, and things just can get brought to us. We don't have to move out of our house for anything. Right. So, I mean, with that convenience comes inactivity, and, we suffer from that in a way. Like, it's great, but we are, as a society, so much more inactive, and we have to add purposeful movement into our day. If we don't, we may not move much at all. You know what I mean?
I have to tell you, I can verify that's accurate, because I've been having a lot more back pain, pelvic pain, because I am more sedentary. I'm sitting down for, I have to admit, probably close to sometimes 9-10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Barely getting up, because of the fact that I'm glued to, double monitors in front of me. So maybe really, like you said, holding ourselves accountable to take breaks, setting timers, even if it seems really like really do it. But now it makes more sense to do it and just make it part of the daily habits, daily routine.
Yes. And I know that sounds like, oh yeah, okay, set a timer, but really, or set aside time in a planner, like it's a doctor's appointment.
You're right. Or like how we are supposed to take, an hour lunch break, which really never fucking happens, FYI.
Yes.
But maybe that 1 hour lunch break should entail 30 minutes of walking, come back, quick lunch at home, have my water, seltzer, and then go back to work.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Does that sound reasonable?
It does sound reasonable. And, like, I think that people really need to just be realistic, like, about what kind of goals that they're setting for themselves too. And, like, you can be as, like, gung-ho and, like, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, but I would urge people to make sure that whatever they're setting out to do is realistic and attainable for them.
That's true. Oh, I appreciate that. And as a nutritionist, as a dietitian, do you have any like nutritional hacks that you can share with us and or that you've shared with like, your clients, like something that would be, easy to, incorporate into like a daily habit?
Yeah. So, I mean, besides walking, I think like that would be like, I don't know
Your
that
main one.
I really don't like the term hack so much because, well,
I get it.
So like, I'm really not about like anything that's like going to get you as far as like fat loss or whatever faster. I'm more for like long-term consistency. I understand exactly what you're saying 100%, but like with fat loss, I think that again, focusing on like the bigger picture and like what's, like trying to set small realistic goals over time. I think that's like key as far as like improving your lifestyle. So something that I can say that's going to help you be more full and satisfied throughout the day is to incorporate more protein into your day. So I mean, I'm talking fish, I'm talking meat, I'm talking, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, like foods like tofu if you're plant-based, seitan if you're plant-based. Having foods like that throughout your day with your meals is going to help you feel more full and satisfied. And I think that that's something that a lot of people really don't, they may not include protein with their meals and snacks. And I think that protein is super, super important, especially when it comes to wanting to lose weight. Because if we are actively losing weight, it can, it be at greater risk for losing muscle mass. So I would say protein, that might be, I guess, a hack I would say.
Okay. So more protein, incorporate some kind of physical activity like walking.
Yes.
I mean, those, what's funny is that these answers and solutions that you have, we've already all known them. It's just, I think we're looking at them in a different way. Maybe we just need to look at them in a way where we're not, depriving ourselves of certain things.
Yes.
Like, as you know, I'm a foodie, as I know you're a foodie.
Yes, I am.
So, and it's such an interesting combo because you are a registered dietitian but love food. So for me, that tells me that you don't want to deprive yourself, right. Which gives me hope because that means that all of us can do what you're doing. It just means committing to a better long-term lifestyle adjustment in terms of how we're looking at nutrition and living a more active lifestyle.
Yes. And I will say, I wanted to just make sure that I brought up with this all or nothing mindset when it comes to food. We're not really like this with a lot of other things, I would say. I find that people are so like, and that's what these fad diets and things like that, that's what they do. They put you in this whole black and white mindset, whereas if you eat a food that's not on your plan, you fucked up and you have to start over from square one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're either on or off. And with the way of eating that I promote with my clients, you're not off or on. All the fun foods can still fit in moderation,
Right.
and like, it's more about learning that whole like balance, that lifestyle, the moderation, and like teaching people how to eat in a way that they can sustain for the rest of their life rather than, this whole, like, there is no black and white when it comes to food. And what kind of a life is, that's no way to live, and that's not enjoyable.
No, that's like a very, I just feel like I feel very torn. 1 minute I feel so much pleasure and comfort eating foods, but then the back end is, laying on this guilt that I would probably have for eating those really amazing, delicious foods, and then thinking, oh my God, I probably have to go on a diet after, I mean, I've heard that many times before, having, dinner parties and having, groups of friends and family together. And that was always an issue where, oh my gosh, this food is so good, but now I'm going to have to go on a diet. And I'm like, why are we self-sabotaging? And you make a great point. Yeah, food is not black and white. Food is actually, we understand that food is more than just food, but I think we have to start looking at food in a very different way.
Yes.
For sure.
Also, Steph, like, I think, again, having someone coach someone through that is like, it's, I think, super important. And again, I'm really not trying to plug coaching, but I am such a big proponent of it. And like, I myself have worked with coaches before, like they're super helpful. I mean, you know what I mean? And with all this noise out there from all these people that really have no business doing that, like, and giving this advice, I think getting your advice from someone who is well-trained and educated in that area is going to be hugely beneficial for anybody.
For sure. For sure. Oh, you've given me such awesome insight on all of this. And I feel like you've just kind of opened a door for me and a lot of the listeners. So now I want to segue from all of this to actual foodie fun, because obviously you are Foodie Without a Cause on Instagram. And I love all your posts and your stories. And it looks like you are really having a good time enjoying different kinds of foods. So tell me, what are some of like your food favorites, restaurant favorites, or if you have any staples in your, pantry, what's your go-to?
Okay, well, this is a really tough question.
Yeah, it seems like a loaded question, I know.
It is. I mean, for people who like food like us, that's a big question. But I will say, I love pizza. Love pizza. Modern pizza, a pizza.
Yes.
That's a win. New Haven.
Yes, that's a win for me. I think they're my favorite. They are truly my favorite pizza in the state of Connecticut.
I mean, yes, I would have to agree with you. They are the best.
Do you have a favorite topping?
Okay, I like their plain or pepperoni.
Yeah, those are staples. I love their eggplant.
Ooh, I haven't tried that.
It's like having eggplant cutlets, thinly sliced. Yes, it's delicious. Definitely give it a try.
Yes. So modern pizza, New Haven, you got to go. Pizza, actually, right?
A pizza.
Oh my God. So I love them. And then, so obviously you've probably seen on my page, like, I eat ice cream like all the damn time.
Yes, a lot.
That's my favorite food if I had to pick, believe it or not. And there are too many ice cream places that I like, but I am surrounded by Ashley's ice cream, which is like amazing. Several locations. Okay. Oh, okay. So good.
We'll have to research. Where's the main location? Do you know which one you go to?
So I go to the one in Madison, and I also go to the one in Guilford. So those are like my two locations I go to a lot. But I know they have locations all over Connecticut, like Hamden, New Haven, Branford. They're awesome. And as far as like my pantry staples, so believe it or not, I eat a lot of the same things all the time, which I know like it sounds like kind of boring to people. But I think like for people, especially starting on a fat loss journey, kind of having some go-to meals that you can just have on hand in your fridge to just pick up and like, you can make like a meal quick and easy for yourself. So something that I like to make meals out of a lot, they're called Mission Carb Balance Wraps. They are super high fiber. They keep you nice and full. And I will literally take some kind of cold cut, maybe like some Sargento ultra thin Swiss cheese, which is really good. And maybe some mustard or something, and roll it up in a wrap, and I'm good to go. Like, I might have one or two of those, and that would be like a quick meal for me. So my Mission Carb Balance Wraps are always in my pantry. Like 100%.
I've seen those at the grocery. Yeah, I've seen those. So those are easy to find for sure.
Yeah, and they're delicious too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, now you're making me hungry. Well, this information was so informative. And honestly, thank you so much for speaking with me and the listeners today. honestly, this is the first episode with the both of us on here, so I'm sure we will have more to come. And I also hope that all of the listeners today have learned something new, and maybe they can incorporate something that we've talked about on this episode. Thank you again, Brooke.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So, with that being said, everybody, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of Steph's Foodie Finds. Until next time, eat well and be well. Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to follow Steph's Foodie Finds on YouTube and be sure to hit like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode of Steph's Foodie Finds. Until next time, eat well and be well.